different landmarks. And I was thinking about the fact that Malcolm X died not too far from here at the Audubon Ballroom. I looked at all the different icons, and I just in the hotel I was in, they had, images of Duke Ellington, Cab Calloway, Billie Holiday, stuff like that. And and what it really made me think about is the fact that one aspect of sovereignty that I think we still have yet to claim, that I'm still hoping we can acquire at some point, which I believe we will, is the ability to really choose our own heroes, to decide who is going to be famous and who isn't, to decide who we're going to admire and who we're not going to admire. Because what's really interesting to me is that you really would have a hard time finding any sort of iconic black figure in entertainment or any other space that wasn't chosen and promoted by a white-owned corporation, right? If there wasn't some corporation out there that decided, hey, or media outlets or whatever it is that decided, hey, we want everybody to know about this guy or this woman, then that person you wouldn't know about them, right? So if you think about your favorite artist, there's typically a record label behind that person that made them famous, right? If you talk about your favorite movie star, well, it's hard to become famous if you're not in some movie that everybody sees. And who's paying for the movie theaters? Who's paying for the distribution of the film? Who paid to get that $100 million movie made that made you really, see how great of an actor Will Smith is, that kind of thing. And I don't think this is necessarily bad. It doesn't mean that these people are not talented. It just means that unfortunately, what happens is that you when you give sort of these other individuals the power to become the gods of your community and to decide who you're going to look up to, who you're not going to look up to, who are going to be the heroes, who are going to be the villains, who are we going to know about, and who are we never going to know about, who's going to be blackballed. That's a very dangerous thing. I think that's something worth thinking about. And I was processing that as I was sort of looking at all the iconic figures in Harlem, but then also as I was going to see Dr. George Frazier, and I said to him, I said, I think you're one of the greatest men in the history of this country, and that's without regard to race. And I, and I think that the blacker you are, the more you're committed to the black community, the less likely you are to get that white validation. White people are not here to tell us which black people are going to be the most extraordinary. They're here to tell us which black people they approve of the most, which ones they like the most, which ones they think are okay for us to see. And it doesn't mean that they're all trying to be sinister. I'm not trying to sound overly radical here, but this is really something I think is really important. So at the end of the day, he who has the gold makes the rules. He who pays the bills decides the message. And you always have to ask yourself, who's paying the bills for this? Who's going to shape the message? Who's going to decide who your kids are going to see and who they're not going to see? Why is it that, in most public schools, they would never let someone in, say, like a Louis Farrakhan, because they've decided that he's a bad person. And I don't think the minister's a bad person at all. I've met him many times. I think he's a great guy. So ultimately, it's one of these things where we have to sort of at least be aware of that and conscious of that and take the time to really choose our own heroes. So if you want to know who my heroes are, George Fraser is one of them, Dr. Claude Anderson, obviously. And then you got some that are mainstream, Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, love those two guys. And just so many great people in our community outside of that as well. I mean, so many amazing women that are doing amazing things. For example, Dr. Lene Javed, I think, is really amazing. She's actually studying Black women in entrepreneurship and how Black women can succeed and do great things in business. And I think that's really important. Like that strikes right to the heart and to the core of who we are and what we need. It's not sort of something that's just entertaining. It's something that is meaningful, something that is powerful, something that's going to make a difference for us, right? So anyway, I'm gonna send you guys a text really quick. And one thing I want to let you know um, is that the tickets for the All Black National Convention, I'm waiting for my team to send them over to me. I sent them a text this morning. I wanted to deliver them this morning, but they haven't replied yet. So as soon as I get the link, I'm gonna send you guys the link to buy the tickets, because I get, they send me stuff. And um let me see here. Okay, I'm literally gonna be like, please respond when you can. All right, so there we go. They'll hit me back pretty soon, hopefully. Hopefully. All right. So here's one thing I wanted to talk about really quick. There's this interesting stuff going on right now with Trump and the trade war, and with China. And it looks like this trade war is kind of reigniting. And I thought it would be an interesting opportunity to talk about conflict. And the thing about Trump, whether you like him or not, is that he is Some people love him because he's a fighter. Some people dislike him because he's combative. I don't care if you like him or dislike him. I think that whether you like him or not, you can agree that he likes to scrap a little bit. He likes to get in there and get dirty. And sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes it's not necessary. But he likes to fight all the time. His father sent him to military school when he was about 12, and he loved military school. He became like kind of a leader in the military school, but a leader and a bully at the same time, which surprise, surprise, right? But anyway, here's what is going on right now with Trump and the trade war. So basically, Trump is he's reigniting the war a little bit with China. He's basically accusing China of violating trade laws or the trade agreement, which it actually impacted the stock market a little bit. It did impact your finances. Some of your stocks went down, but then again, some of your stocks went up, right? When you saw last week, stocks like Oklo shot through the roof. I know a lot of you own Oklo. I know you do because I've talked about it a lot, and I know a lot of you pay attention to that. I know some of you may own shares in Tesla. Tesla has made a killing lately, quiet as kept, and so I'm not here to be anti stock market at all. That's not or pro stock market. That's something that I'm never going to be anti or overly pro. I believe in investing because that's the quickest and easiest way to find your way to wealth. And I mentioned to you all yesterday, I went down to this bookstore called the Revolutionary Bookstore or something like that in Harlem, and I sat and listened to a woman who was, I think she was a Marxist or communist or socialist or just left. I'm something like that. I'm not 100% sure exactly where she lied on the spectrum, but I was just listening to her speak. And one of the things I didn't argue or anything because I don't know nothing. I know things, but I don't know everything. The biggest thing you learn when you get if you're a real scholar, in my opinion, the first thing you should learn is how little you actually know. I think that's the more knowledge I got, the more I realize how much knowledge I don't have. So my goal is to take in information. It's not to just sit around and act like I know everything. Just a little hint. This is my personal preference. If you meet that guy who knows it all already, or that woman who knows it all already, just know you're dealing with a dumbass. I hate saying it. I don't want to be mean, but it's true. If you come up to me act like you know it all, in my mind I'm like, oh, you must be the dumbass in the room, because it's always the person who knows the least who thinks they just know everything, and you can't tell me nothing, and I already know this, and be quiet, girl, I got this, and shut up, idiot. Just be quiet. Learn how to listen. Learn how to listen. It doesn't hurt you to take in information. It makes you a better person if you let people know that they're being heard, right? If you're trying to shout out or shout over people and constantly, you're either mansplaining or you're womansplaining and just running your mouth constantly, then that means you're embarrassing yourself. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. That I sound biased and I probably hurt some feelings in here because there might be some people in here that do that. But I want to challenge you to just shut up and listen sometimes, man. I have a PhD in finance. And if anybody, I mean, I think I have a decent license to just run my mouth about, well, no, and this is wrong, and here's what the difference is, and blah, blah. No, and what you said is wrong. I mean, yeah, and I've got an opinion, I've got a perspective, and I'm going to share it. Y'all know this. I will share, share, share. But if I'm talking to you personally, one on one, any of you who've ever met me, you'll notice that when I'm talking to you, I listen. I want to hear your story. I want to hear your perspective. I want to hear your point. I want to hear everything. And the more you disagree with me, the more I want to hear it. The less I'm jumping in to correct you and fix it. I ain't trying to argue with you. I ain't trying to stress out. Ain't no reason for it. There's room in this space for both of us to have our perspectives. Can we agree on that? Do y'all agree? I hope you're hearing me on this. Okay. So anyway, I'm sitting here and this is an economic discussion. I'm going to get back to the stuff with Trump in a minute because I think this is relevant as well. Okay, so in this store, they were kind of leftist, Marxist, and I told you they had pictures of Cornell West and stuff. And Cornell's my guy. I love Cornell, so I was just I felt very comfortable in there. But it was really funny because I was they'd had up there's something in the back where they were explaining that Trump is kind of a Nazi or something and everything. And I was listening again. I wasn't even disagreeing. I was like, I ain't in there trying to defend Trump or Diddy. I ain't defending Diddy Trump or Trump Diddy, neither one of them. But I was just watching it and I was listening and then I saw this video by a guy. His name was Bob Avakian or something like that. And apparently he's important on the left. He did a debate with Cornel West years ago, and I remember people were working to get me to go to that and to be a part of that, and I just didn't want to. And the reason I didn't want to was because I sometimes feel like when you have these groups, and these groups are like, yeah, we're going to help you fight the oppression and liberate you. I don't know how I feel about you liberating me for one group so I can be part of another group. right? I don't know how I feel about you sort of saying, well, don't be over there because they're bad. Be one of us. And then we're going to continue the control of you. We're going to control you in some way. We're going to make you feel bad if you disagree with us. We're going to take your, get money from you. We're going to ask you to do things, right? So to me, it's like it's not true. It's not true freedom and true liberation, in my opinion, because true freedom and true liberation means that I can get up and do whatever the hell I want whenever I want to. That means if on Tuesday I want to be a Democrat, I can be a Democrat. On Wednesday, if I want to be a Republican, I can be a Republican. On Thursday, if I want to be a communist, I can be a little communist. I can be whatever I want. I ain't got to commit and submit to any group. But remember, that's my bias. You're talking to a guy who doesn't really always enjoy always necessarily being overly aligned with a group. I was invited in college to join every single fraternity, and something just felt weird to me about it. And I was like, so that means I got all these people that are going to be asking me to do stuff. I don't want to do that. I'm trying to find God. And I don't think God is going to fit in your fraternity. Like I'm trying to find freedom and an honest perspective in terms of really truly understanding the world, the life I'm supposed to live. And I don't know if I can find that necessarily by over identifying with a group. But sometimes I'll do that, right? Like I do identify heavily as a black man, and I like being part of that group. But even that can be difficult sometimes, especially when you see black people do something crazy and people are like, you're supposed to believe him because he's black. I'm like, no, he's a liar because black people can lie too. So that's hard, right? But here's my point. Here's where I'm getting at. So with this perspective, I heard them speak about a lot of aspects of economic oppression, and you might have heard me casually mention this yesterday, but they spoke a lot about economic oppression and what happens to the poor in America versus the rich, and the kind of consistent narrative that you got these powerful wealthy people that exploit poor people. 100% true. The wealth gap in America has grown over time. Worker protections have declined over time. We don't do enough for the poor. Homeless people could all have a house if we wanted them to have one. Every hungry person could eat if we cared about that. America does not, so therefore you have all these disparities. But one of the things that she mentioned was she did say, and she almost spoke as if being born poor or being poor means you're stuck there, like you can't climb out of that. And I said, look, I got to kind of stop you on that. I have to say I disagree. I know I'm just an old finance professor running his mouth, but I don't, and I'm not a capitalist because I was around a lot of capitalists when I got my doctorate. But I can tell you that that's just not mathematically true. I don't think that poverty is something where you have to stay there. They want you to stay there. They will talk you into staying there. They will expose you to lots of habits and cultural diseases that will keep you there, but you don't have to stay there. Because no matter how we feel about it, the math does math. The math, 2 plus 2 is always 4, even if it makes us upset. So when I lay out something like a solution, a simple solution like the $5 a day investing plan, that literally is a clear, simple blueprint to go from poverty to non-poverty in less than 10 years, right? After about 10 years, $5 a day, less than the cost of a Happy Meal. Now I think Happy Meals cost a little more than $5. You're buying stock in the S&P 500, randomly picking stocks. You don't even have to know anything about investing. After 10 years, you have roughly somewhere between 22 and $29,000 in your bank account. There's no person that can say I'm in poverty and I have $29,000 liquid in my bank account. There's no person who can say that. Give me a guess if you understand what I say. Give me a guess if you agree with that. That you can't say I'm poor and then be like, oh yeah, but I only got 29 grand in my stock portfolio, right? You have more money than most Americans have right now, but you can't call yourself poor no more. I know that might be your label. I know that might be your identity. I know you might want to believe that's who you are, but I'm sorry. I know we got rules where people can identify as whatever they want to be. Like maybe I could become Joyce instead of Boyce one day just because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But I'm sorry, you can't have 29,000 liquid in your bank account and then identify as poor. You ain't poor, damn it. So stop it. I know we become addicted to it. I think poverty porn can be kind of real for some people. I know we love being in the struggle sometimes because sometimes you identify as being part of the struggle, but that's the curse and that's the curse I'm going to bless you with. That is the curse I want to bless you with. I want to bless you with the curse of dealing with the fact that once you solve that problem and climb yourself out of the hole and find yourself having actual like resources, you're gonna have people that are gonna say, well, you're not one of us anymore. Oh, you're one of them. right? You're just like the oligarchs. You're just like the rich that exploit people. So you go from being like part of the the heroic group that's part of the revolution to being like the oppressor. You're the oppressor, and then they'll say, well, if you don't want us to call you an oppressor, then give us your money, right? And then when you say, well, I don't want to give away all my money, I'll give you a little bit, but I won't give it all away because I need it for my family. They're gonna be like, see, you're like the stingy, greedy, rich people. You're the oppressor. Ain't nobody trying to oppress nobody. I'm just trying to not be oppressed so that I can help liberate other people, right? There's nothing wrong with taking care of your family. And that's why I think being, and here's the deal. Here's my honest experience. When I did meet some of the folks that because Cornell had recommended that they give me a call, and I liked them all. They were really nice people. First thing they started doing when they realized that I wasn't broke was they started asking me for insane amounts of money. And I was like, I can give you something, but I ain't giving you that much. Like I don't know. Well, you're not down for the man. What are you? Get out of my face. You don't understand. I'm the son of Larry Watkins. My father when people would call him and try to use his credit, get him to co-sign for something, because anybody who's got good credit, you know how it is when you're the only person in the family that's got good credit. Somebody's gonna call you and ask you to co-sign. He would cuss him out. He would literally cuss. He'd be like, "F you." What in the hell makes you think that I'm stupid enough to believe that you're gonna protect my credit when you didn't even protect your own? You done effed up your own credit but you think somehow I'm stupid enough to believe you're going to protect mine. That's how my father. That was his logic, and I think that makes sense. So my point is to say that there are pathways out of poverty. We know these things. Poverty is not a permanent condition. It is one of the. It's like being a 10-year-old is not a permanent condition. It lasts for about a year, and then the symptoms start going away on your 11th birthday, right? So stop. So let's focus on being progressive people in the sense that we don't want to be need to grows. You don't let people stunt your economic growth. That's what I'm saying. Don't let people stunt your growth and say, well, because you're struggling now, you're always supposed to struggle. And in fact, we're going to internalize it so heavily, we're going to oppress you with this struggle identity, this strugglenomics mindset that you're going to stay exactly where you are so that you can prove us correct that once you're in the struggle, you can never get out. I don't know if that's true. I know America sucks sometimes. I know America ain't doing right by people sometimes. I know that there's areas that are just absolutely just complete abominations when it comes to justice, fairness, equity, and all these. You don't have to explain that to me. I see it and I agree with it. But the stock market actually is democratized. I can get if I want to be there's no publicly traded company out here that I can own a piece of in 30 seconds or less. I can get on my app right now and pick a company. Somebody give me a name of a great American company that makes money. Somebody tell me about a company that makes money, and I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna become a business owner in about 30 seconds. Give me a company. Pick one. Just anybody pick a random company. Give me Coca-Cola. Oh man, they make soda and stuff. Yeah, let's go with Coca-Cola. Their ticker symbol is KO. The stock price is $71.92 a share. It's gone up 16% this year. The last 5 years has gone up 53%. I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna buy me I not too many shares. I don't want to own too much Coca-Cola, but I'm buying me 15 shares of Coca-Cola. It's gonna cost me $1,078.65. Boom, I'm now an owner of Coca-Cola. That's how quick I can do something to shift my economic condition. If $1,000 worth of stock is out of your budget, that's okay. You can buy one share, $71. If that don't work, you could buy half a share. You could buy $20 worth of Coca-Cola and be in the game, right? So my point is not to say that the game is fair. The game is certainly rigged, absolutely rigged. It's not to say that you can go in and control the game automatically. That does take time. But what I am saying is that you don't have to sit outside the arena bitching about people inside the game that are playing. The door is wide freaking open. The door is wide open now. For a minute, you might have to sit in the nosebleed seats for a minute. I ain't pretended like I told you. Fast money. I don't do fast money. Fast money is that's for the fake internet influencers who are gonna lie to you. I don't do fast money. But that slow money, when you really, really have a long-term plan and you keep doing exactly what you're doing, you're already doing it. You're making investments every day. If you get up and go to work every day, you're making an investment every day. If you take care of your kids every day, you're making an investment every day. If you're eating right, if you are exercising, if you are just Whatever it is, when you're spending money, you're making an investment every day. The only difference is that you're not getting the money, you're not getting the benefits of the investment. But I mentioned to you all, and I want to go back to the Trump thing in a minute, that a person who bought $1,000 worth of Apple stock every year since 2001 would have $850,000 right now. How many people that now $1,000 a year is $83 a month. Give me a yes in the chat if you have at least one bill that's more than $83 a month. How many of you have at least one bill that is more than $83 a month? We're being intentional here. The answer is in the small stuff. The solutions are the tiny things. It's the little stuff that makes the difference, not the big, exciting, once in a lifetime situation. No, no, no. It's the little things. So pay that bill to yourself. That's all you got to do. All right. So anyway, one thing I want to mention is I'm putting something together to help you guys kind of. We have our stock market investors club. If you want to join that, that's drboystockmarket.com. The first month is free, so feel free to go to drboystockmarket.com. If you don't want to do that, one other thing I'm having the team help me put together is a quick little, almost like a cheat sheet, a little blueprint of a 10-step process to get you started investing, how to set up your investment account. Because one of the things I really want, this is something that I know would be a gift to you because I know the research. That's all I did was research the stock market when I was on the faculty of Syracuse. Um, is literally something that will help you get in there, get your account going, and get set up very quickly in less than 30 minutes, probably maybe 20 minutes if you're fast. Okay. And so I'll get that ready for you guys this week and you'll get a text. Make sure you're on the text list for this class. If you're not on the text list for this class, text the word morning, MORNING, to the phone number 87948. Just text morning to 87948. All right. So, all right. So here is something I wanted to mention really quickly. Let's focus on that thing with Trump. So Trump is fighting with China. That's very, very bad for economic development. Trump has probably cost the world about $2 trillion with his antics, and I'm hoping he reverses some of that because if he doesn't, I think even his own party is going to turn against him. That's just my belief. But anyway, here's a couple of things that, in terms of economic theory, that helps you understand why fighting is just it's so bad for wealth. And we've talked about this a little bit in class. I've mentioned to you all things like if you're married, the cost of divorce is incredibly high, not just in terms of all the money that you have to give the lawyers, the fact that you're not making money together anymore, the fact that your greatest ally is now working to destroy you in some cases. I'm not talking about the fact that you're depressed and angry and fight and arguing all the time, which takes away your ability to be productive. Instead of investing your time in building your business, you're investing your time in fighting your spouse. So when you get to where you're fighting your teammates, it becomes very messy. We've discussed these things, but there's something in here called transaction cost theory. And transaction cost theory basically says that every exchange has a cost. Every exchange that you make with another entity has a cost attached to it. Every time you go on a date, every time you have a conversation, every time you do a business deal, every time you get married, every time you meet for lunch, every exchange, every conversation, every exchange has a cost. And the cost is usually paid in terms of time, energy, and trust. And these can be some of the consequences and the casualties. Now, in the stock market, transactions costs are just fees that you pay to make a trade happen or something like that, or with even liquidity costs. For example, if I have a house and I'm trying to sell my house in an hour, then I'm going to pay a huge liquidity cost. What does that mean? That means that it's hard to sell a house in an hour and get the fair price for that house. I could sell a house. I could sell a house in 20 minutes, but I would have to drop the price precipitously in order to sell that house. Do you understand what I'm saying? In order for me to sell that house quickly, if I don't have time, I would have to take a huge transaction cost to get rid of that house. So if I have a $500,000 house and I'm trying to sell that house in an hour, I could sell it in an hour, but I'm not going to sell it for the fair market value. Do you understand? 9 times out of 10, I won't be able to do that. It's going to take time. I have to find a buyer. Like, and the less liquid the asset, the higher the transactions cost. So, for example, if you remember, there was that person that paid $6 million for the banana duct tape to the wall. Well, if you want to sell that for 6.1 million or 7 million, you're going to have to really work hard to find a buyer. So that's going to be search costs and transactions costs and everything else. You can't walk down the street and say, "Hey, I've got a banana taped to a wall. Would you pay $6 million for that?" People are going to look at you like you're crazy. So transactions costs basically means that in most cases there is a fee that is paid for some type of exchange, whether it's a trade or it's interaction with another human being, right? Remember, you pay not just in money. Money is one thing you pay, but there are other things that are more valuable than money, things that money can't buy, like your time, your energy, your love, your trust, things like that. So if you center this back into like your home, this is why it's important to do all you can to pick up all the skills you can to learn how to have a peaceful home. In a chaotic home, the stress and high emotional volatility can lead to a lot of impulse decision making, whether it's impulse spending, it can lead to a lot of missed opportunities, right? Because I'm fighting with my sibling, I'm missing the opportunity to build with my sibling. I'm fighting with my wife, I'm missing the opportunity to build something great with my wife. Right. Also, if you don't make plans, if you don't have the ability to make strategic plans on how you're going to use your time and your energy, then there is a huge cost. And that cost would be defined as a transactions cost. So, what I would say to you is that working on strategies to maintain peace in all your relationships is a huge economic move that will lead to extreme benefits later on. George C. Fraser, one of the most brilliant human beings on the planet. I went when I went to his party yesterday. I can tell you one thing about George. George ain't really gonna fight with you. George ain't, he's not going to waste time. If you get ghetto, George will just smile, shake your hand, and walk out of the room. George is not going to get ghetto with you. He's not going to waste energy being stupid. He's not going to get in your face. He's just going to walk away, or he's going to find some other way to manage the relationship. So, or if I even if I walked up to George and we're very good friends, if I walked up to him and just said, "Hey, man, you suck. I can't stand you." Blah blah blah. He's not going to escalate that. He's not going to say, "Well, f you too." He's not going to do that. He's going to figure out like what's going on. He's going to listen to me. He's going to work with me. We're going to figure out a solution because he understands that chaos and fighting, this Negro stuff, this ridiculous stuff that gets marketed to us on a regular basis. Think about it. Think about how many reality TV shows feature black people fighting. Think about that. All that fighting is very costly. People who spend their whole lives fighting, they usually spend their whole lives broke. Um, there's another thing called loss aversion and emotional decision making. So basically, what loss aversion theory says is that when your emotions run high, you make irrational decisions. Things like fear, anxiety, or anger can cause you to make bad decisions that can cause you to lose tremendous amounts of wealth. And there's nothing else to say about that. So when we talk about therapy and why we have the Black Financial Therapy Department here in the Black Business School, that's probably the most important thing we've ever done. Because how many times do you see people acting crazy, doing crazy stuff? Because they're angry, mad, hurt, whatever, betrayed, abandoned, and they're carrying all this trauma around. In fact, I saw a guy that was describing overweight people. Like a lot of times when we spend our lives overweight, that's the trauma locked inside your body, right? You never really let it out. You never healed, and then that plus poor eating habits and which could be a trauma response, right? You get upset, so you start eating stuff, and then also in the fact that the culture of going to the gym is not always what it should be. Well, next thing you know, you got obesity, and a lot of that outcome, which is very expensive, by the way, it's very expensive to be unhealthy. We know that big pharma will suck your money out of your pocket like a vacuum cleaner. Big pharma is right up there with student loans in terms of something that really drains black wealth at a multi-trillion-dollar level. They love to put the diabetes clinic right there in the black community. They love to put the dialysis center right there in the middle of the black community. Then they'll put it right next to the liquor store so you can drink yourself into a bad state of affairs where you have to go get the dialysis and the diabetes treatment and everything else. And then they'll put it under the guise of helping you. Like we really want to help the black community because it's unfair and they don't get the same treatment as everyone else. Well, maybe prevention is something that should be considered as well as it pertains to making certain investments in your life. And we know that your health is wealth. We've talked about this before. Now, another thing is there's something called household production theory. And one thing about household production theory is that it pretty much argues that harmony in the household increases the home's productive capacity. And so, a united household can achieve goals when it comes to saving. They can build businesses together. They can invest together. If you have chaos, then your output is reduced. Most nations, most corporations, most economic entities measure their wealth by their ability to produce. Productivity is an essential element of wealth creation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you hear the words that are coming out of my mouth? The countries on this planet that are deemed to be the wealthiest countries in the world tend to be the countries that are the most productive. So what this theory says, what household production theory says is that a productive household will typically be a wealthy household, and a household that has peace and harmony is more likely to be productive, which makes it wealthy. So peace rather than chaos leads to productivity, which leads to wealth. That's easy though. Like you know this. You know this. Because for many of us, the chaos isn't just on the outside of our body, it's on the inside. A lot of us have chaos inside our mind, inside our own body. We can't even fight the chaos, the internal chaos, let alone the external chaos. So one of the biggest battles that I fought as a young scholar, young whatever the hell I was figuring out how to resolve the internal chaos inside of Boyce. Because I knew that I had to resolve that before I could resolve the external stuff, right? Everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change themselves. So result the more you resolve chaos and you gain clarity, the more productive you will be. And then once you resolve the chaos in your environment, the more productive the environment will be. And then what happens is that once you have a productive, non-chaotic environment, you have to protect that. So, in our family, we're pretty good at, being peaceful with each other and productive with each other. So when you come in with chaotic, negative energy, we tell you to get the hell out. We tell you that this is not our jam. You're not, we don't want you around acting like that. So thank God, me and my siblings did not marry some person coming up there screaming, hollering, arguing all the time. We didn't. My wife fits right in, and my brother's wife fits right in, and we just get together and we love each other, and that's how you build together. The same thing with the All Black National Convention. The energy of the All Black National Convention is very peaceful and very productive. And as a result, millionaires have come out of that. So we have families that are very wealthy now that are doing amazing things together, and that tends to happen more regularly when you don't have all the drama, right? Drama has a huge economic cost. All right. So, with that said, by the way, in case you didn't get a chance to take a look at our crypto flashcards for kids, I sent those. I'll send those out again this afternoon if you guys want to take a look at those. And also, I have a Spotify podcast. I don't get to mention it much, but if you search for my name on Spotify, you can follow me. It's called Dr. Boyce Daily. And I hope you guys will follow me because if you don't follow me, then nobody will because I'm not a mainstream kind of guy. So I kind of like, but I like being followed by the right people. So you following me means a lot more than those other people. So feel free to look me up on Spotify. I'm doing a little bit there. Oh, Natasha follows me. Thank you, Natasha. See, that means I got at least one follower. That makes my day. All right. So here are a few other statistics that you might want to consider as it pertains to peace and money, fighting and money. And this is something that I wish Donald Trump understood. But then again, though, Donald Trump is not a poor man. But I think that he doesn't understand the externalities of what he's doing, meaning that his wealth might go up, but I don't know if the wealth of those, if everyone sort of in that circle goes up. Outside, like maybe he and his family do well, but I don't know if, it's clear that the nation isn't going to necessarily do well with all the fighting and that the world isn't going to do well. Okay, so here are a few statistics to sort of look at as you think about your own life. One, couples who argue about money are 30% more likely to have a divorce. Divorce and separation is extremely expensive with massive costs like legal fees, lost income, housing disruption, stress. That's why as we've discussed, investing in a person, you should have due diligence just like you would have if you were investing in a building or a portfolio or a business. And so having that due diligence, taking your time is a great way to prevent massive economic loss. Number two, children from high conflict homes are twice as likely to struggle financially as adults. So the Journal of Family Psychology basically says that if you aren't too immature parents who create chaos that your children have to witness, the chaos is going to be the generational STD that you are passing down to your children. Because what the studies show is that when your children grow up in the middle of whatever shitstorm you decided to create because you never grew up, it actually echoes for many generations. It damages the child's financial literacy. It damages their ability to tolerate risk. It also ultimately damages their ability to build wealth. So if your goal is to make sure your baby is as broke as possible, then keep acting crazy and ghetto and ridiculous in front of your child, and then watch how they fail throughout life because you did not do your job as a parent. Did I hope I didn't make nobody feel bad. I probably did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. You need to hear that. Stop it. Go in the bedroom and argue. Don't be arguing in front of the kids. Give the babies a chance, please. Can we at least do it? Can we at least give something to the kids? Like I don't want them, I'm gonna tell you, I hear Gen Zers sometimes, and they'll talk about hip hop and they'll say your generation messed it up. And they'll be talking about Gen X, like us. Like, and I'll be like, yeah, you're kind of right. We went from fight the power to to we don't love them hoes, and I'm like, but we didn't do it. I didn't do it. I was just a bystander. It was these certain rappers and the record labels. They did it. It was the owners of these records. I didn't do all that crap. But still though, like it kind of sucks, right? Or if you watch like some of these shows like the Love and Hip Hops and stuff, and you'll see these like poor little 28, 29-year-old people fighting in their, trying to have relationships but not knowing what they're doing and just traumatizing each other. But then what you'll see in the background is you'll see that where they have this parent who was not in their lives growing up, or the mother that they got hooked on drugs and went to prison, and that kind of makes me sad. I think, and you can't. It's hard to blame anybody, right? Because we know who put the crack in our community. We know what the media promoted to us, but I think at the same time there's some degree of responsibility that we all have to take, just because it's really, you really are more empowered when you take some degree of accountability, at least figure out what you could have done, what you could do. And I lived through the crack era, and not everybody chose to smoke crack. Not everybody chose to do the things that were going to get us locked up or put or in trouble. I lived through mass incarceration. I lived through the crack era. And I remember making specific decisions to say, I'm not messing with that. I'm not doing that over there, right? And so even though we know that systematic racism is real, and this really speaks to the importance of Black people educating Black children, Black people owning Black media, Black people not really trusting other people to guide which direction our communities go and our families go. I think that's there's always that part where it's like, what choice did you choose to make? And do you really feel like you have a choice, or have you just surrendered to this idea that the fate of a Black man or the fate of a Black woman is in the hands of a white man or a white woman? I don't believe that. I don't think there's any benefit in believing that. There's no benefit in submitting to this idea, especially when you're aware of it, right? If you're aware that others are working to manipulate you and your culture in a certain way, then it's up to you to make the decision to have the culture to stand up against that. Right? It's up to you to decide, you know what? No, we're not doing this. This is not, I'm not following the crowd. I'm not trying to fit in. Right. But that requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of internal work because you have to really sort of figure out what matters to you and why it matters to you and what should matter to you. Right? Like what does it like? It's not hard to know how to raise a child properly. They got books on that. Did you choose to read the book? I haven't met a white man yet who told me I wasn't allowed to read a book. I haven't. He does. I don't know if he exists. If he does exist, then call the police because that's a terrible thing to do. Is to slap books out of people's hands. I've never met a white man who told me I couldn't learn how to invest or how to save money or how to build wealth. I never met a white man who told me that I couldn't really focus on learning how to love my wife in the best way possible or how to be the best father I could be. I've never met that white man. So so I think really sort of processing the dysfunction that keeps us from being who we want to be and being where we want to be. I think it's really a matter of deciding what are you going to take accountability for, and then what are you going to kind of offload as sort of like, okay, there's nothing I could have done. And I think the question is why? How does that benefit you? How does that actually help you to make sure that the next generation doesn't get cursed the way we get cursed? Okay, so here's the last stat I'm gonna give you, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. There's another study. This is according to the Black Wealth Data Center at the Brookings Institute. They said that unified families are 72% more likely to build generational wealth. Surprise! Families that operate with clear goals, shared vision, and cooperation significantly outperform those operating in silos or dysfunction. So that means that if you are either divided or dysfunctional, you're going to lose. Division and dysfunction are will destroy your wealth. These are wealth destroyers, right? So division, dysfunction, destruction. That will lead to wealth destruction. So division, dysfunction, destruction. But if you are connected on some level, you have a shared vision, shared goals, you're operating as a team, and you have some people, some team captains who really, really make sure this is a core value, who are very proactive, very intentional, very conscious about this. This is consciousness. Everybody talks about what it means to be conscious and woke. Don't nobody know what it means to be woke. Half the people talking about being woke are asleep. I'm talking about really consciousness means I'm going to be very intentional about making sure that I am not a product of my environment. My environment will of two different levels, two levels of commitment. I talked to a young black man right on the phone right before I talked to you all. He's about 31 years old. He was talking about some stuff going on in his life, some stuff going on with his family, stuff going on with his child, stuff going on with the mother. And I said, you got a decision to make. Are you going to be a product of your environment, or is your environment going to be a product of you? The decision is yours. The choice is yours. I'm burdening you with the knowledge of knowing that it is a choice that you are capable of making because you are a smart human being. You are a strong man. I have seen you go and get things that you want, and I'll be damned if you're going to sit here and anyway fall into the false belief that the world is kind of happening to you. And I know it's hard though. Sometimes it's hard because I don't think we're used to thinking of black people as being powerful. I don't think we're used to thinking of ourselves as powerful people. I really don't. I think that there's so much victim language out there. There's so much like poor me, woe is you. We're all so sad. We're in the struggle. They're doing this and look at what they did to us. And I get all that. I hear all that. But I don't think that's no fun. It's no fun. Sometimes I want the rabbit to have the gun. And I know maybe I've had some more practice at it, than some people. But I really think that you probably have more say in your life than you've given yourself credit for. And I would encourage you to not just claim that, but to claim even more than that. Maybe I'm giving you an inch, but I need you to go in there and take a mile. You are the doer. You are the sayer. You are the decider, as George Bush used to say. You're the decider of what's going to happen in your space, in my opinion, and at least in a big chunk of that, and claim that, right? So ultimately, and why is this important? Why does this matter? Why does this, this is not a motivational speech. I'm not even a good motivational speaker. This is me just telling you what I'm thinking here. Why does this matter? Well, because when you're conscious and intentional about what environments that you allow yourself to exist in, and you learn how to form those boundaries and you learn how to use energy to shape the experience, to shape the environment for yourself and for others around you, then you're opening the pathway to the wormhole of wealth. You're opening the door for extraordinary possibilities to take place. You're giving yourself that God-given power to manifest because you're taking your energy, applying it in a specific and structured way to develop the kind of space and the kind of team that allows for things to grow and flourish. You're becoming the guard. You're creating the greenhouse that will grow your garden, and you're protecting that greenhouse from the weather and all the elements that might lie outside. Build the garden and protect the greenhouse. Fight for that. Fight for that. And maybe I'm passionate about this because Lord Jesus, I have to do this all the time. I'm always blocking negative Negroes out my space. I'm always dealing with negativity, ridiculous behavior, stuff I'm not gonna put up with, stuff I'm not gonna let you do to me. All that's just been my story because unfortunately sometimes it's hard to be black and to be American because sometimes the thunderstorms just won't stop. It's just so much stuff happening, so you have to create that building. It's a spiritual process. It's not just about what you know, it's what you have the courage to apply. Okay? So have the courage to apply what you know. It matters more if you are courageously applying a little bit of knowledge than if you have a lot of knowledge and you're too much of a coward to actually put it into action, right? No cowards here, right? No, no, we're not gonna have no intelligent cowards. I'd rather be a person that's courageous, that has a little bit of knowledge, that applies that knowledge. So I want you to go apply some of this and watch how it works in your life. But give it time, though. Give it time because remember, I told you I'm not really into the fast money thing. Wealth does not grow overnight, but generational wealth, if you invest the time, it can last for many, many generations. And the reason it's so important for you to apply this now and to understand this right away is because you have no idea how even the little things that you'll overlook, things that you don't even think are going to make a difference, will make a massive difference to the kids, grandkids, and great grandkids because they're looking for you to take the lead. That's who you are. You are the elders. You if you're not an elder, you're gonna be one, and you're gonna be the ancestors. So be that. Okay. All right. So anyway, with that said, I'm gonna get out of here. Make sure you're on the text list for this class. If you're not on the list yet, you can text the word morning to the number 87948. So text morning to 87948. I'll send you guys a link to the to get tickets to the All Black National Convention. This is the weekend of August 24th. It's going to be in Atlanta, Georgia. And also we're going to we are going to have a ball at the convention. There is going to be a ball, but it's going to be a joint event with us and the Black Business League. But we thought that since it's the 10th year of the convention, we would do an award ceremony. And we're going to have the B1 awards. So, for example, we have the Dr. Claude Anderson Lifetime Achievement Award and some other awards too. So we can pick our own heroes. And so that's going to also be in Atlanta, most likely. So I'll keep you guys posted. You'll get the first invitations if you want to come down there. We're going to do more stuff in Atlanta just because that's just a great place to do things. But maybe I'm liking Harlem a lot, so maybe I need to come back here too. So God bless you guys. And the link is not ready yet, Herman, but it will be ready later on. I'll try to text it out today. If not, I'll give it to you by tomorrow, but you'll get it by the end of the weekend. So God bless you guys. Have a great day. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow.